Hey guys, tonight we're going to take a little journey into the kind of bedtime you're probably not prepared for. Forget your lavender oils, your calming lo-fi playlists, and those silly eye masks you saw on TikTok. No, tonight we're going somewhere a bit darker. You've got a bell by your bedside, not because you're calling room service, but because if something moves in the dark, you want the bell to ring first. That's the only warning you'll get. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're lying on a straw-filled mattress, wrapped in rough wool, staring up at low wooden beams above your head. The air smells faintly of smoke, sweat, and something like dried herbs, maybe lavender, maybe just mold. Outside, it's silent, unnaturally so. Even the village dogs have gone quiet, and that's never a good sign. Beside you, hanging from a nail on the bedpost, is a bell. Small iron, rusted a bit at the rim. It doesn't look like much, but it's your first line of defense. Because in this century, sleep isn't just rest. It's a kind of surrender, and no one surrenders in the dark without a plan. They say bells keep the spirits away. The sound confuses them, disorients them. Some monks even wrote that demons hate high-pitched tones. There's a story, told to children and travelers alike, that a merchant once slept without his bell and was found the next morning with his face turned completely around, eyes wide open. Of course, no one knows if that's true. The local priest says it's nonsense, but he sleeps with a bell too. You shift under your blanket. It's a heavy thing, stitched with coarse thread, and inside the lining are small symbols, woven protection prayers. You didn't sew them, your grandmother did, or perhaps someone even older. You don't remember when the blanket appeared. You just know you never sleep without it. Tonight feels different. The air is thicker, like the dark is pressing in a little harder. You remember what old Marta said yesterday at the well. The spirits come early this year. The nights are greedy. You laughed, politely, but now her words crawl back into your mind like cold fingers. There's a small candle flickering beside the bed, more for comfort than light. Its flame dances wildly for no reason, casting jittery shadows along the ceiling. You know better than to blow it out. You never sleep in total darkness. That's when the boundary thins, at least that's what the villagers whisper. The bell trembles slightly. You freeze. Just the wind? Maybe a rat nudging the bedpost? But no, the air didn't shift. The shadows didn't move in that direction. You look again, yes, the bell is swaying. Barely. As if something brushed past it without touching it. As if something chose not to make a sound but couldn't quite help it. Your heart pounds loud enough that you worry it might be heard. And yes, that's a real worry. There's a belief here that some spirits follow heartbeat rhythms. A pulse is like a trail of breadcrumbs to them. You reach slowly, fingers brushing the bell's string. It's still warm from the day's sun, still tethered tightly. Good, because there's another story. This one's older, darker. It tells of a widow who replaced her husband's bell with a ribbon, thinking it was kinder to the eye. That very night, something came through the walls. Not a sound, just the pressure of something heavy that was no longer alive. She survived, but never spoke again. Just sat there, staring, with her mouth open as if mid-sentence. You don't want to end up like her. A creak. The floorboard at the far end of the room groans. The sound is heavy, slow, like a foot dragging. You whisper a name, but no one answers. Not your brother, not your father, not even the goats. Everyone's asleep, or pretending to be. The bell doesn't ring again, but the flame, oh, the flame bends sharply to the left. As if pushed, you sit up, slowly. This is what you were warned about. The hour of drifting comes just after the body relaxes, just before the soul slips fully into dream. That in-between place, it's when spirits test the boundary. You look to the wall. The herbs, those little bundles of sage and rosemary, are still there. But one has fallen. That's not right. They were tied with twine strong enough to bind a pig. You reach under the bed and find your charm. A small, round disc carved from bone, with 3 circles etched into it. The circles mean watcher, protector, and silent one. You were told never to speak its name. Just keep it close. The bell moves again. This time, the sound is clear. A soft ting so delicate it almost feels polite. And that's the most terrifying part. You see, some spirits don't slam doors or howl. They don't leave slime or drag chains. They're courteous, respectful, but they watch and wait and sometimes ring the bell for you. You lie back, grip the bone charm tight, and stare into the shadows. Your eyes adjust, and you swear for a heartbeat you see a face at the window, pale, too still, watching. Then it's gone. You're not sure if you imagined it, but the bell is still swaying. And you know the rule. If it rings 3 times, you don't sleep that night, ever again. So you wait. 1, 2, and then silence. The longest silence you've ever known. You don't move, because the 3rd ring doesn't always come with sound. Sometimes it's a breath on your neck. The quiet doesn't ease. It just hardens, settling over you like frost on the inside of your skin. The kind of silence that feels too heavy, too deliberate. You're not alone in this room, and your body knows it before your mind does. But you stay still. That's what Marta told you. Never move too fast when they're close. Spirits respect stillness. Or maybe they just don't notice it. You stare at the bell again. It's perfectly still now, hanging like a weight between this world and something else. But your breath still comes shallow, slow, as if any sound might tip the balance. Then you hear it, a whisper. It's coming from beneath the floorboards. Low, muddled, like someone talking through wet cloth. You can't make out the words, but they rise and fall in rhythm. A murmur you feel more in your teeth than your ears. You remember the tale. People once said that if a person died angry, or too quickly, or without the right rites, they didn't really go anywhere. Their thoughts stayed behind, sinking into the wood of the house like damp. They called it floor speech. Sometimes it came from a place with no voice anymore. Sometimes the floor was just echoing what it had absorbed. You don't know which version is worse. You slide your foot off the bed and press it gently against the floor. It's cold. Too cold. The kind of cold that doesn't belong to stone or winter, just to death. Your foot tingles, not from fear, from something deeper. Movement. Something scrapes beneath the boards. Not a rat. Rats are quick, skittish, precise. This is slow, deliberate, as if whatever's underneath is listening. And you, of course, you remember what they say about listening, that sometimes the dead are just waiting for someone to answer. A second whisper rises, closer now, almost right under your bed. And then it stops, just like that, but you feel it, that new weight in the silence. Something has paused right underneath you, as if it heard something in you. You lie back slowly, eyes on the ceiling beams again. They creak faintly, though there's no wind. You count the knots in the wood. 1, 2, 3, 4. The whispering starts again. Now it's to your left. Then it's at your feet. Then it's directly under your pillow. You clutch your bone charm tighter. Feel the etchings dig into your palm. You think about the words carved there. Watcher, protector, silent one. You wonder which one you're asking for right now. You mouth a prayer, not in Latin, you never learned it properly, but in the local tongue. The one only the very old speak anymore. The one your grandmother said the dead respect. A pause. Then a sound like something brushing against the underside of the mattress. That's it. You lunge up, not too fast, but enough to break the moment, and light a second candle. It flares unsteadily, casting a broader glow across the room. The shadows scatter. Sort of. That's when you see it. Not a figure, not a shape, just a footprint. Bare, faint, on the floor beside your bed. You stare at it. It's facing away from you, as if something stood there watching you sleep and then walked backward into the dark. And that would be fine, truly. It would be, except you locked the door, and you bolted it, and you wedged a chair under the handle. Your eyes drift to the far corner of the room. The salt circle. Every home has one if they're smart. A small, chalk-drawn ring filled with coarse salt and rosemary. It's meant to trap wandering spirits, confuse them, keep them circling until morning comes and the sun burns them away. But your circle has a gap, a smudge. The salt has been disturbed. You shuffle out of bed on shaky knees and try to refill it. Your fingers fumble in the dark. You drop a pinch of salt and whisper an apology. Not to yourself, not to the salt, but to whatever might have slipped through. Because now you know something was here, maybe still is. You sit down on the floor, back against the wall, where you can see the whole room. You won't sleep now. Can't. Not until you know the bell will ring when it must. You think about the story of the old soldier. They said he came back from war so changed that the dogs wouldn't bark at him. He slept every night with a dagger on his chest and a bell tied to his toe. When he died, they found no signs of struggle. Just the dagger still in place and the bell gone. Some say he took it with him. Some say something else did. You pull the blanket tighter around you and lean into the wall. You feel every knot in the wood, every draft from the cracks. You listen to the night breathe, long and slow and tired. And then a knock, just one, soft, barely there, at the far wall. Not the door, the wall. You don't move. You don't speak. You wait. The whisper returns, just for a moment. This time not from beneath, from inside the wall itself. Then silence again. The candle burns low. Your eyelids ache from the tension, and still you wait. You never did hear that third bell, but you wonder what if the third sound was the knock? You glance at your charm. The etchings are warm now. You don't know if that's a good sign, but you don't sleep. Not tonight, because you understand now. The bell doesn't ring for you. It rings for them. You don't dream, at least not the way you used to. When you finally drift off, somewhere between the fourth candle stub and the first rooster's cry, it's not sleep in the soft, modern sense. It's more like suspension, like your mind treads water while your body pretends to rest. And when the sun cracks through the shutters, the light doesn't bring comfort, just exposure. It pours over the bed, the walls, the floor, and the footprint, which is still there, fainter but unmistakable. You stare at it for a long time before daring to erase it. You sweep the salt back into a clean line. Not fresh rosemary. Relight the warding candle. And above all, you check the bell. Not just that it's there, but that it still feels like it's meant for you. There's a superstition, one you hadn't taken seriously until last night. When the bell forgets your name, so do the angels. You don't want to test that. You spend the day in silence. People talk to you, you nod. Someone offers bread, you take it. The priest passes, muttering about crop failure and sin. You don't care, because you're watching the light, measuring its descent, counting the time until night returns. And when it does, oh, it doesn't creep this time. It drops, like a blanket smothering the last rays of safety. You're ready, or so you think. You've reinforced the salt line, added iron nails to each window frame. You even found a faded scrap of vellum tucked in your grandmother's Bible with a charm scrawled in Old Church Slavonic. You don't know what it says, but you whispered it anyway. Still, the moment you lie down, the room changes. Not visually, but spiritually. The warmth leaves the air. You know this feeling. It's what the villagers call the knockless hour. It's when spirits don't need to ask for permission anymore. You sit up in bed, and that's when you hear it scratching. Not violent, not like claws. No, it's worse than that. It's fingernails, light, repetitive, just beneath the windowsill. You freeze. The bell doesn't ring. That's not comforting, it's alarming, because that sound is a test, a feeling out, a checking for holes in your fortress kind of sound. You think about the old story of the blacksmith's daughter. She lived in a stone house, sturdy, thick, well-guarded. Her father carved protective runes into every beam. But one night, something tapped at the third shutter from the left. Not knocked, not pounded, just tapped, soft and slow and polite. When she woke, her door was locked, the windows sealed, but her mirror had fogged from the inside, as if someone had breathed on it. She never spoke again, just hummed, all day, every day, until she died. You hear another scratch, this time higher, near the corner beam where the salt line bends. You check it, still intact, but the scratching continues. You light another candle, this one infused with tallow and juniper. It smells awful, but you were told it burns the lies out of the air. Then the bell rings, once, sharp, then stops. You don't even breathe, because that wasn't the bedside bell. It came from the ceiling. You tilt your head up. There's nothing there, just the rafters, cloaked in shadow. But then, you hear breathing, not yours, and it's not above you anymore. It's inside the room. You whisper the words on the vellum charm again, slower this time, with intention. The breathing stops, but the candle flickers wildly, then steadies. You glance around. Nothing, and yet the air feels tighter, as if it's been stretched too thin. You step down onto the cold floor, avoiding the spot where the footprint was. As you kneel to check the salt circle again, your fingers brush something smooth. Glass, a shard. That's not yours. You don't own anything made of glass. Not here. You lift it into the candlelight and see something that freezes your blood. An eye, painted, old, faded blue, like the kind found on ancient dolls or amulets. But this one is cracked, chipped along the pupil. You drop it, and when it hits the floor, the bell rings again. Twice now. Your stomach churns, because you know what that means. The third is always the worst. Not loudest, not fastest, just worst. You wrap yourself in the blanket, gripping your bone charm so tightly your knuckles ache. You whisper the charm's words again, one after another, as if layering a spell brick by brick, and still you wait. The third ring doesn't come, but the scratching returns. Closer, above your headboard, you rise, slowly, and press your ear to the wood. Nothing. Then, a laugh, small, childlike, hollow. It fades so fast you're not sure you heard it at all. But your heart believes it. And your hand? Your hand grips the bell string so tight you feel the metal teeth into your skin. You don't sleep. You stare into the dark until the rooster crows and the world returns. But something has changed. You go to the wall where the laugh came from, and there, scratched into the timber, are 3 lines, like tally marks, one for each ring. You try to rub them away. They don't budge. You'll cover them with cloth later. But for now, you know this. You weren't visited last night. You were measured, and they'll be back. You leave the house at dawn, blankets still wrapped around your shoulders like a makeshift cloak. You haven't eaten. You haven't washed. You haven't spoken a word. But you walk, past the fields, past the blacksmith's yard, past the well where the water doesn't echo anymore. You're heading toward the one place no one in the village likes to name, the bellmaker's hut. No one remembers when he arrived, or if he ever did. His hut just seemed to have always been there, tucked at the edge of the woods, surrounded by bones and brambles, with a smell like old copper and burned honey. The bells he forges aren't for weddings or feasts. They're for keeping things out, or sometimes in. You find him just as the sun slices the treetops, his silhouette hunched over an anvil, gently tapping a strip of beaten silver. He doesn't look up when you approach, doesn't ask why you're here. He just says, "Your bell rang 3 times. You feel your throat tighten. How did you?" He cuts you off. "They're counting." You kneel by his fire. It isn't warm. Somehow it drains heat from your skin. You ask if the bell still protects you. He doesn't answer. Instead, he pulls out a small blackened mold, the size of a thimble. Inside it, a scrap of cloth and a sliver of nail. "Yours." He holds it up. "They've tasted you. You can't use this one again." You want to ask who they are, but you already know the answer won't help you sleep. He opens a drawer of trinkets, rows of eyes, teeth, coins stamped with forgotten kings. Finally, he lifts out something wrapped in waxed leather. A new bell, smaller, not silver this time, but bone, carved, not cast. No clapper inside, just a loop of braided hair. Human. "This one doesn't ring with sound," he says. "It rings with intention." You don't want to touch it, but your fingers close around it anyway. Cold, smooth, too light to feel real. He tells you to hang it not above the bed, but beneath it. If they crawl up, you'll hear them coming through your soul. You don't understand, but you don't ask, because it's already dusk, and you have to get back before night falls. When you return to your cottage, the light is already wrong. It's not fading, it's being drained, like someone's holding a black cloth over the sun. You don't undress. You don't light a candle. You just slip the bone bell beneath the bed, the loop trailing over the edge like a question mark. And you wait. But this night is different. No scratching, no laughter, no breath that isn't yours. You should be relieved, but your fear runs deeper now, because silence isn't safety. It's a trap. You try to sleep, but your eyes stay open, staring into the ceiling's shadows. Hours pass. The fire dies. The moon shifts. Still nothing. Then the bell rings. Not aloud. Not in your ears. It rings inside you, like a shiver that starts in the spine and ends in your teeth. Your hands go numb. Your vision narrows. You try to speak, but your mouth doesn't belong to you anymore. You're not paralyzed. You're being watched. You close your eyes, not to sleep, but to hide. It doesn't help, because behind your eyelids you see them, figures, not shapes, intentions. They move like oil poured into water, smooth but wrong. No faces, Just masks, mask upon mask, some carved, some drawn, some burned into skin, and one wears your face, except it's not breathing, just smiling. You reach for the charm. It's gone. You open your eyes in panic, and the room is still, normal. Nothing moved, nothing touched, but on your chest, a handprint, dark, greasy, like smoke trapped in skin. You bolt upright, check the bell. Still there, still silent, but something's different. The loop of hair has been braided tighter. You didn't do that. You can't even braid. You spend the rest of the night sitting at the table, bell beside you, trying not to blink too long. At dawn, you don't go outside. Don't greet the neighbors. You just stare at the tally marks on your wall. They've doubled, not scratched, drawn, with ink. And at the bottom, in a child's handwriting, still watching. The day doesn't feel real anymore. Sunlight spills through the windows, but it doesn't warm the floor. You sit in your chair, staring at the wall, replaying that soundless bell over and over in your head. It's not the ring you remember, it's the feeling, like someone opened a door inside you, one you didn't know was there. You don't eat, you don't speak. When the knock comes, it startles you so hard your teeth clack together. You freeze. Another knock, not heavy, not urgent, just polite. You stand, legs numb, and edge toward the door. Through the gap in the wood, you see them, 3 monks, cloaked in brown, hoods drawn, rope belts cinched so tightly they bite into the fabric. You haven't seen monks in weeks, not since the last exorcism. One speaks without looking at you. You've hung the wrong bell. You want to deny it, but your body betrays you. Eyes darting to the loop of braided hair still clutched in your palm. Another monk speaks, older. That one calls them, doesn't keep them out. The third one, the tallest, tilts his head. And now they know your name. You let them in. They don't sit, don't remove their hoods. They circle your small room like it's a crime scene, murmuring prayers under their breath. Words that melt before you can understand them. One monk pulls a vial from his robe. Thick black liquid. Smells like pitch and old blood. He drips it around your bed in a perfect square. The liquid sizzles where it touches the floorboards. Another monk takes out a bundle of dried herbs, tied with red twine. Not lavender or sage, but something sharper, metallic, like dried nettle soaked in vinegar. He burns it. The smoke fills your nose, and you feel like you're falling, even though you haven't moved. The third monk, silent until now, approaches you. He's holding a scroll, unfurls it, points. Your name is written there, twice, one in ink, one in ash. You've been spoken to, he says. You ask, what does that mean? He doesn't answer you. He answers the air. Mark removed, sigil altered, presence invited. You feel cold. Invited by what? This time he looks at you. By yourself. They don't stay long. They leave behind a different bell. Bronze, heavy, etched with script so worn it looks like veins. This one isn't meant to be worn or hung. It's meant to be buried. Beneath your threshold, the monk instructs. Upside down. If it rings, don't open the door. You ask how you'll know if it rings. They all turn to you. You'll know. You dig the hole with a wooden spoon. Can't find your spade. You're sweating even though it's cold out. Every scrape of wood against earth feels like nails on your teeth. You bury the bell. Deep. Pack the dirt tight. Don't say a word. You go back inside. But as you cross the threshold, the air changes. The silence doesn't feel empty anymore. Feels crowded. That night, sleep doesn't come. You lie in bed, eyes open, counting the cracks in your ceiling. But they move when you're not looking. A line becomes a face becomes a mask becomes you again. This time not smiling, just waiting. You try the usual protections. Salt around the windows, iron at the foot of the bed, a prayer whispered 3 times with your breath held on the 4th. None of it helps. The room pulses softly, like a heartbeat that isn't yours. Around midnight you hear it. The bell, but not from below, from inside the walls. It doesn't clang. It doesn't chime. It rings with memory, a voice you forgot, a scent you've never smelled, a laugh that should belong to someone dead. You bolt upright. The cracks on the wall have all moved. Now they form a single word. Welcome. You pace until dawn. The monks don't return. The bell stays buried, but something else has taken its place beneath the threshold. You feel it when you walk across it, the same way you feel someone watching you when you're alone. That sharp press on the back of your neck, like breath that doesn't smell like yours. You consider leaving, but where would you go? They've seen your face now. They've braided your name into their bells, and they're ringing, somewhere deep, in a place you can't reach, but they can, because it's inside you now. The morning light is thin and useless. You pull your cloak tighter even though you're indoors. The fire in your hearth gave up hours ago. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe something else told it to die out. There's a strange taste in your mouth. Metallic. Not blood. Older than blood. Like licking a key you haven't seen in years. You sit at your table. Stare at the bell buried beneath your threshold. You can still feel it even though it's underground. Like a bad decision you made too young. Like a word you spoke in anger that keeps echoing back. You can't hear it ring anymore. That's almost worse. The monks are gone. The herbs have burned. And still you feel watched. So you do what any medieval peasant might do. You go to see the bellsmith. He lives at the edge of the village, past the shrine with the crumbling angel, past the orchard where none of the trees bear fruit, past the house with no windows. No one talks about him, but no one stops you either. Maybe because they've all been there. Once, the door to his workshop is open. Not wide, not inviting, just unlocked. You step inside. The air tastes of brass and wet ash. The walls are covered in bells. Tiny bells on strings. Heavy bells with no clappers. Hollow bells shaped like skulls. Or maybe they are skulls. He doesn't greet you, just keeps hammering a molten loop of something silver and red. You wait longer. He finally speaks without looking up. How many times did it ring? You say, once. He stops hammering. Then you have 3 days. The bellsmith is an old man, but his hands are young. Sinewy, deliberate, and burned in a way that looks deliberate. He beckons you to a long wooden bench. On it, a bowl of water, a leather strip with symbols burned into it, and a mirror cracked clean down the middle. You won't need to sleep tonight, he says, but you'll wish you had. You don't know if that's a threat or a warning. He dips the leather strip in the bowl. Water hisses like it hates touching the leather. Then he ties it around your wrist. The moment the knot tightens, you see something, a door, in the middle of your chest, locked from the inside. He explains while he works, not in full sentences, in fragments, in warnings. You piece them together like scraps of overheard gossip. The bell you wore wasn't a shield. It was an invitation. Harebells are tricky. You don't always know whose hair it is. Most spirits ignore them. One didn't. You rang it. It answered. It followed the braid to your threshold. Now it's interested. You ask how to unring the bell. He just stares at you. You can't unring a name. Instead, he gives you something else. A chime box, small, wooden, and warm to the touch. Inside is a single sliver of moonstone. It hums faintly. Hang this in your room, above your bed. It doesn't repel. It distracts. Spirits can't resist a riddle. This one hums a question they can't answer. You ask what the question is. He smiles first time. If you find out, it stops working. He hands you the box, then says something strange. If it stops humming, run. If it starts singing, stay very still. You're not sure he's joking. Before you leave, he offers one more thing. A small pouch. Inside, a knucklebone, polished smooth, etched with an eye. Put it under your tongue if it starts to speak to you. You blink. The bell. He doesn't answer, just points to the door. You don't remember walking home. The path bends differently than before. The shrine is missing its angel. The trees in the orchard all seem to be leaning the wrong way. The house with no windows now has one, a round one, looking out, looking for you. You get home just before dusk. The chime box vibrates in your hand. Not loudly, not like a sound, like an idea you can't quite catch. You hang it above your bed. This hum fills the space, like wind through teeth. That night you don't sleep, but you dream anyway. You're back in the bellsmith shop, but it's you who's hammering, over and over. Something red and silver, still writhing in the heat. You look up, expecting to see him. Instead, a mirror. And in it, you're not wearing your own face anymore. You're wearing a mask. No, a bell. You wake up screaming. Or maybe you scream yourself awake. The chime box above you is vibrating hard now. The hum is panicked. You open your mouth to breathe. The knucklebone falls from your tongue. You never put it there. Outside, you hear footsteps. No knock, just steps. Right up to the buried bell. Then silence. Then one ring. From beneath the dirt. From behind your ribs. From somewhere you'll never reach in time. You do not remember standing. But you're standing. Not fully awake. Not fully dreaming. Somewhere between. Your feet are bare. Your door is open. The night air is colder than it should be, but it smells wrong. No wood smoke, no damp hay, no wind, only metal, only wax, only something old. The chime box above your bed has stopped humming. You can still hear it vibrating, but it no longer asks. Now it listens. You step outside, not because you want to, because something tugs. Behind your navel, behind your name, you see it before you hear it. A figure bent at the base of your door, digging, with bare hands, pulling up dirt in frantic clumps, nails torn, skin graying, mouth open in silent effort. You don't recognize the face, but you recognize the braid in its fist. Your bell braid. You want to run, but something is wrong with your legs. They move only in halves, one forward, one back, like a broken marionette. You reach the figure. It doesn't look at you, just keeps digging, mouthing something. Where is the door? Where is the door? Where is the door? It stops when your shadow touches its hand. Then, slowly, it turns its face toward you. Its mouth is still moving, but the voice is inside your ears now. I was not invited. You called without naming. You rang without offering. You manage one word. Why? The face splits open in an almost smile. Because sleep is a gift, and you took it from me. The spirit drops the braid. It stands, not like a human, like smoke standing upright, bones flickering in and out of shape, eyes that are not eyes. It raises a hand, your hand, but twisted, reversed, missing a thumb. Give me what you dream. Give me the rest. You step backward, trip on your own doorstep. Land hard, look up. The chime box above your bed begins to vibrate again. Not a hum, a note, a single high tone like glass on the edge of breaking. The spirit stops, twists its head, listens, then screams, but not aloud. The scream pulls at your teeth, at your fingernails, at the knot in your chest you didn't know was tied until now. And then it shatters. The braid in the dirt burns. All at once. No fire, no heat, just gone. The bell beneath your threshold rings once, then falls silent. And for the first time in days, maybe longer, you are alone, utterly, beautifully alone. You sleep. That night you sleep. And the dream is not a dream. It's a room, a stone room with only one door, a chime box on the ceiling, and a voice, the bellsmith's voice. 3 rings is too many. 2 is risky. 1 is curious. You ask him what would have happened if it had rung again. He doesn't answer. He just places something into your hands. A new bell braid, tighter, heavier. This one is made from your own hair. You wake with the braid around your wrist. No knot, no seam, as if it had grown there. You breathe. The chime box hums faintly above. Everything is as it was. Everything is not as it was. You look at the window, and in the early light you see a mark, a single eye drawn in frost, watching, waiting. You don't ask for sleep again. Now you earn it. And every night since, before lying down, you whisper to the chime box, "Not tonight, not yet, not yours," and you listen for silence or for the sound of one more ring. You awaken sore, not from illness or unrest, but from being used again, as if your body was no longer your own, but a tool that had been wielded and sheathed. Your dreams no longer feel like wanderings. They feel like negotiations. Every night, you go somewhere else. Every morning, you return changed. The bell braid is heavier now, not by weight but by intention. When you lift your wrist, it resists. When you sleep, it guards. But it does not guard you. Not entirely. You begin to suspect it guards something inside you, or perhaps something near you. You notice the change most clearly when the night priest visits again. He arrives at your door unannounced, carries no candle, no books, just a pouch of dust and a bowl carved with runes you don't recognize. You let him in because you always let him in. But today he hesitates, stops at the threshold. His foot hovers over the bell embedded in your lintel. He whispers something you don't catch, and steps back. "It is not my place," he says. You ask him what's wrong. He shakes his head. "You have been marked." You feel your chest tighten. Quiet panic. But he smiles faintly. "You've been seen." That is both danger and honor. He leaves the bowl at your doorstep, a gesture of farewell, not blessing. "You are not cursed," he says. "You are claimed. And to walk into your dreams now is to walk through another's garden." So he does not return. Not ever. In the weeks that follow, you grow accustomed to the rhythm. Every night, the braid hums, the chime vibrates. You sleep without dreams. Or perhaps the dreams no longer let you remember. You do not mind, because in your waking hours, the rituals intensify. You learn to wash your hands with salted milk. You carve symbols into candle stubs before burning. You tuck tiny mirrors into the corners of your bed, not to see, but to confuse whatever might be watching. And you begin to hear the bells, not your own, others, far away, not rung by humans, not rung with ropes, just the sound of metal on thought, a ringing that pierces clouds, a call that somewhere is answered. You wonder how many others are like you. If there is a network, strung not by roads or messages, but by ritual, by sound, by trust. One night you try something different. Before bed, you place a second chime box under your floorboards, one with no inscription, no permission granted, and you wait. At midnight, you feel it pulse. Quiet knock from below. You freeze, and then it knocks again. Not at the door, not at the walls, but from underneath your bed. You do not sleep that night, but you do listen. Until dawn, the box continues to knock. 13 times. You remove it in the morning and bury it. You never build another. You start keeping wax seals beside your pillow. Not to use, just to remind the things in your dreams that you still can. That you still have the power to banish. That the door may be open, yes, but the threshold is guarded. Every night before you close your eyes, you place a coin on your tongue. The old kind, no longer in use. You do not swallow it, but you sleep with the taste of metal, because the spirits know. A sleeper with a coin cannot be taken far. You've become something else. Not a priest, not a warder, not even a monk, but a dreamer who walks with tools. You're no longer a guest in sleep. You are a landlord, and your tenants are made of bell sound, shadow, and long, forgotten names. Sometimes you dream of the figure again, the one who dug outside your door, but now it smiles at you, still empty-eyed, but respectful. And the braid in its fist? It's made of its own hair now. The bellsmith never returns, but his voice does, in echo, in rhythm. Sometimes when you're very still, you feel him press a new chime into your palm, one you didn't ask for, one you cannot unring. And that's the trick of it, isn't it? Sleep is not silence. Sleep is a bargain. And bells? They are your signature. The morning feels different now. Not colder, not darker, just stranger. Like the house you wake in isn't exactly the house you went to sleep in. The walls creak where they didn't before. The windows fog even when the air is dry. And the birds avoid your roof. They fly around it in circles, like it's cursed ground. Maybe it is, but at least it's your curse. There's a new practice in town. It starts with whispers. A child who places bread under her bed and stops having night terrors. An old man who hangs 7 bones above his door and never dreams again. A shepherd who buries his own voice, recorded on parchment, beneath the hearth. They call it sound binding. You call it insurance. And naturally, you try it. Your version is unique. You sit down with a piece of linen and whisper into it for an hour straight. Your name, your thoughts, your fears, all of it. Then you tie the cloth around your ankle before bed. The first night you dream of silence. No voices, no bells, just a hush. You wake unsure if you've slept at all, but your body feels rested, more than ever before. You keep the linen on, and the next night the silence returns. But this time there's weight in it. Not absence, but presence. Something beneath the silence. As if someone is watching, waiting just outside your field of hearing. You begin to notice something odd about your bed. It shifts, by centimeters, always to the right. Every morning you find it slightly off where you left it. You start marking the floor with chalk. Each night, the legs of the bed nudge closer to the wall, until one day, they stop, flush against stone, as if that's where the bed was always meant to be. You check the wall, tap along the bricks, and that's when you hear it, a hollow ring, right behind your pillow. You chip away gently, careful not to disturb the lintel bell. After a few minutes, you find it, a space, not a passage, not a tunnel, just a gap, big enough to hide a fist. Inside, an object wrapped in waxed cloth. You pull it out, unwrap it slowly, and there, staring back at you, is a mirror. No frame, no backing, just polished obsidian. So dark it reflects nothing, not even your face. You test it, light a candle, pass your hand over it. No image, just void. And when you touch it, your fingers feel warmer. Not from the fire, but as if someone's hand met yours from the other side. You put it back, seal the wall, and never speak of it again. But you don't forget. You start sleeping on the floor for a few nights, just to be safe, because you've realized something. Your house isn't just a house anymore. It's a ritual engine. And you're the key. You meet a midwife on the edge of town. She's older, eyes fogged with milk, but voice sharp as knives. She tells you of a ritual once common in her youth. We'd tie hair from the back of the neck to the rafters. Only the back. Front hair don't count. Spirits hate the smell. You ask why. She laughs. Because the back never sees the sun. That night you try it. It's surprisingly hard to pluck your own nape hairs. You manage 5. Tie them together with a thread soaked in vinegar. Hang them above your bed. Sleep comes fast. Dreams do not. Instead, there's a presence above you, like a watcher perched in the rafters. It doesn't speak. It doesn't move. But it sees everything. And it doesn't blink. You wake up with your arms crossed over your chest. Not how you slept, but how the dead are buried. You start laughing, because really, what's the difference anymore? You go about your day like normal. Feed the goats. Check the bell for rust. Repaint the sigils on your doorframe. Just everyday medieval things. But the moment you lie back down, arms by your side, the watcher returns. Same weight, same silence. Only now it hums. Not a song, not a language, just a low, vibrating note. You recognize it. The same hum from the chime box you buried. You dig it up, expecting rot, but it's clean, smooth, like it hasn't been in the ground at all, and carved into its side. Your name, in a script you did not write. You run your fingers over the letters, and they're warm. You don't open it. You don't need to. Whatever's inside already knows you. The braid of bells on your wrist has frayed. You could repair it, but you don't, because something about its unraveling feels honest, like a chapter ending, and another about to begin. You hang it above your door. Let the last bell dangle into the wind. It rings only once, and then it's still. That night you sleep without protection. No salt, no coins, no threads of hair. You open the window, let the air in, let the watchers come. You lie on your back and stare at the ceiling, eyes wide. You do not blink, you do not flinch, and when the shadows arrive, you don't run, you welcome them, because sometimes rituals aren't about defense. Sometimes they're invitations. You stop marking the calendar, not out of forgetfulness, but because days no longer matter. Night is the true measure now. Each dusk brings a question. Will it come again tonight? But you no longer fear the answer. You've learned to participate, to leave the right items out, to breathe a certain way before sleep, to hum its note, not because you understand it, but because it seems to help, or at least to keep the worst things away. One evening, a stranger knocks, just once, firm, no repeat. By the time you get to the door, no one's there, but on the step, a bundle, wrapped in black felt, tied with waxed twine. You bring it inside, wait until the candle guttered to a stub, then unwrap it. Inside, a scrap of vellum with a single word, remember, a single dried eye of a goat, a rusted key. You don't know what it opens, but you recognize the shape. You've seen it before, in your dreams, hung around the neck of a sleeping man, mouth sewn shut, hands bound to his chest. A man who never woke up. You place the key beside your bed, face turned toward it, and when you dream that night, you're not you, you're him. I sealed, skin cold, but aware, so terribly aware, not of pain, but of observation, something studying you, as if you are the ritual now. You wake gasping, throat dry as parchment. Your pillow is damp. You reach for the key, but it's gone. In its place, a small pile of black salt. Salt you didn't own. Salt that smells faintly of iron and ink. You don't sweep it away. You let it be. You understand now. Objects shift, but purpose remains. You begin building something, not with wood, with gesture. Every night before sleep, you touch the lintel of the door, blow air into the corners of the room, murmur the name you found etched into the chime box. You don't remember when you started, but now not doing it feels wrong, like forgetting your own name. The bell above your bed doesn't ring anymore, but you feel it vibrating, even when still, especially when still. It no longer warns of danger. It announces arrival. You start speaking to it, not aloud, but with intent, and it answers, not in sound, but in shifts, little movements, temperature changes, a flicker of candlelight when no draft stirs. This is the new conversation. One morning, you find a fingerprint on the inside of your window, small, childlike, pressed from inside the glass. But you live alone, and you never open that window. You press your own hand over it. The match is close, too close, like a mirror from a life you forgot. You scrape it off, but it returns the next night. Only now the print is slightly lower, like the visitor is growing. You leave out an offering, a sliver of silver, a walnut with a needle hidden inside, a drop of your own spit, carefully arranged on a linen square, folded thrice, placed beneath your bed. That night your dreams are blank, not quiet, not dark, just empty, and you wake up feeling watched from the inside. Your neighbors notice you've changed. They stop asking if you're okay. They just leave food, bread with the crust already cut, honey sealed in wax, no salt, never salt. You understand. They know too. They just don't want to say it, because saying it makes it real. You meet a woman by the stream. She hums a melody you know from a dream you never told anyone. She says nothing, just hands you a comb made of ash wood. When you use it that night, it snaps in your hand, and smoke pours from the teeth. Not fire, not steam, just smoke, thick and sweet. And you feel your mind loosen, like threads coming undone, like ritual unraveling. You lie back, and the bed tilts, not down, as if gravity forgot you. You rise slowly, inches above the mattress, eyes open, arms limp, breath shallow. The bell rings once, and you vanish, just for a moment. But when you return, your nails are longer. Your teeth are cleaner, your heart beats in reverse, and there's writing on your skin, not ink, not paint, just raised skin, like you were branded from the inside. The words shift when you look too long, but they pulse when you sleep, like a heartbeat of someone else, living inside your ribs. You stop fighting it. There's peace too in surrender, in knowing you're no longer just a person. You're a vessel, a keeper, a participant in something older than cities, older than bells, older than dreams. And so, when the watchers return, you leave the door open. When the wind sings that familiar note, you hum along. When the bed shifts on its own, you move with it, because now you understand. This isn't haunting, it's inhabiting. And you were never the target. You were the threshold. There is no more night and day. Not really. There is only before sleep and after return. The hours in between are hollow. You walk the house, but it's not yours anymore. It's a shell, a shaped space, a ritual in architecture. You stop lighting candles. The watchers don't like fire. You learn to see in the gray between. Shapes become familiar. The silhouette at the window is always there now. You stop reacting. And strangely, it starts to bow when you pass. Not deeply, just enough, like it's acknowledging your presence. Not as prey, but as peer. Your dreams are no longer dreams. They're memories, but not yours. You're stitching herbs into the hem of a death shroud. You're whispering names backwards while binding a doll with human hair. You're burying a bell in the wall, mouth down, so it never rings again. And you wake with dirt beneath your fingernails, even though you never left the bed. One evening, the bell above your bed shatters. Not from movement, from silence. The crack is so soft you almost miss it. But in your chest, something shifts. You feel a weight leave. Not relief, not release, just absence, like a guard post abandoned. That night, you hear footsteps upstairs. But your home has no second floor. Not anymore. You sealed it yourself. Nailed every board. Painted runes in oil and spit. You go up anyway. Because you must. Because the ritual has changed. You find a staircase that shouldn't be there. Winding. Narrow. Candlelit with no source. At the top, a single door. Red. Old. Breathing. You open it. Inside, a room identical to your own, but mirrored. Bed on the wrong side. Window shape slightly different. No bell above the bed, but something sits where it should be. A mask. Wooden. One eye open, one eye closed. Mouth sewn shut with red thread. You pick it up, and behind it, your own face staring back. Eyes blank. Skin waxy. Still breathing. You don't scream. You just nod. Because now you remember. This was always the plan. You are the continuation. The next vessel. The Watchers chose you long ago. Before birth. Before name. Before sleep. You leave your old self behind. Let the mask rest gently over your new face. You walk out the mirrored door. Descend the impossible stairs. Return to your home. Everything is still. But now the shadows flinch when you pass. The bell is silent. The Watchers keep their distance. And the ghost in the window covers its eyes when it sees you, because you're not afraid anymore. You're the thing they fear. You're not even sure when you last slept. Not real sleep anyway. Not the kind that lets you forget. Because now, when you drift off, it's not rest. It's entry. You don't lie down anymore. You fold in. You sit cross-legged on the stone floor. Yes, stone now, not wood. And let your thoughts stop pulling. They sink, like stones in dark water. And the world answers. Tonight is a red moon night. That's what the old woman called it. Anyway, she had no tongue, but her throat still made words. Thick, dicky, like cough syrup. She said, "Don't let the bells ring on the red nights. They draw attention." You asked, "From what?" She just blinked and dropped her iron bell into the well. You never saw her again, but some nights you hear it echoing from the stone shaft, impossibly deep below your bed. You sit by the window now. You've moved the bed out entirely. Too soft, too vulnerable. You rest with your back against the wall, knees pulled up, bell on your chest like a locket. It doesn't jingle, not unless they're close, not unless you're truly alone. And tonight it's been quiet for too long. A low whistle snakes under your door. like wind, but cursed. You smell wax melting. You didn't light any candles. Your fingers tighten on the bell, but it stays mute. And then you hear it, not footsteps, hooves, not galloping, clicking, deliberate, rhythmic, as if measuring time. You remember the tale. Everyone in the village whispered it once. The bell treader, a figure that walks the boundary between waking and nightmare. It only comes when your protection is worn down, when you've overused the rituals, relied too long on charms, when you've started to feel safe. It smells that, feeds on it, eats through it like damp rot. You slide down the wall, clutching the bell. You whisper the names backward. You grip the salt charm, but you know, this time you've reached the limit. There are no more barriers. The door creaks open, just a crack. You see nothing. Then, just for a moment, a hand, not of skin, of rope, frayed, blackened, taps the doorframe twice, then slowly retreats. The door clicks shut. Your bell rings, just once, clear, pure, but not for you. It's not a warning. It's a recognition, a sign you've passed the test. They won't bother you again. Not this type. Now it's the others you need to worry about. The ones on your side. The ones who gather when a human becomes too attuned, too open. You've kept the watchers out. But now you're visible to something older. Something with no fear of bells. No use for salt or thread or holy names. Something that waits only for you to blink. And then it will speak in your own voice. But that's for tomorrow. Tonight you are still awake. Still in your body. Still here. So you breathe. You close your eyes. You count backwards from 13. And when you reach 7, you feel it. A breath against your neck. And a voice that whispers, "We've been waiting," but softly, almost kindly, like it's been lonely too. Not because of sound, but because there's no sound at all. No birds, no wind, not even the distant creak of the roof beam you've grown used to. Silence isn't absence here. It's presence. A presence that leans, presses in around you like thick fabric. Not heavy, just intentional, like something listening back. You don't remember falling asleep, but you're upright, back against the wall, fingers still curled around the bell, skin white from the grip. This morning or something like it. The air feels stale, and the light outside is wrong, too pale, like milk that's been watered down. And your door, it's unlatched. You didn't do that. You never do that. You stand slowly, bell still tied to your wrist. It doesn't ring now, hasn't rung since last night's visitor. You should feel relieved, but you don't, because relief has no place in this house anymore. You step outside, and everything's changed. Not dramatically, not visibly, just tilted. The trees lean inward. The well is gone. Your footprints from yesterday walk the wrong direction. You look up at the sky. No clouds, but something is moving behind the blue. Like the sky is just a curtain and someone, or something, is pacing behind it. This is what happens when a person learns too many rituals. When they sleep beside charms for too long, whisper old names for too many nights, they start to matter. And when you matter in the other place, they begin leaving space for you. There's a term for it in the old church records. You remember reading it. Scrawled in the margins by a monk with shaky hands. Somnambulatus liminalis. The sleeper who crosses thresholds. It's not possession. It's not madness. It's attention. You try to retrace your steps, back toward the village. But every tree is the same. Each path bends slightly left. Eventually, you realize you're walking in a spiral. And in the center, you see it, a low, flat stone carved with bells. But they're not normal bells. They look like vertebrae strung together. And in the center, a bowl of cold wax, still steaming, a ritual you didn't perform, but it knows your name. You approach, because what else can you do? The bell on your wrist begins to vibrate, not ring, just hum, like it's remembering something, or warning something else. And then, the stone beneath your feet moves, just a tremor, but then again, and again, a rhythm, like hooves, like before, but no one comes, not this time. Instead, the wax in the bowl starts to ripple, and then you see it, a reflection, not yours, but close, your face but older, cracked, smiling, and behind that smile, the bells, a wall of them, hung upside down, silent, until you make a choice. This is the moment the stories never mention. Not the warding, not the ghost, but the moment when you're invited to stay, to become one of the ones others protect against. You look at the wax, and then at your bell, and you do what anyone would do. You back away, but the wax follows. It spills upward, climbing the air, reaching toward your mouth. You scream, or try, but only a bell tone comes out, not from your mouth, but from inside your chest. And that's when you wake up. Again, same spot, wall behind your back, but now the bell is gone. Only the mark remains, a circle burned gently into your skin. It hums when you breathe. You're not safe, but you've been marked. And the next time someone rings a bell at midnight, you might be the one who hears it first, before anyone else. The bell is gone, but the sound of it lingers, not in your ears, in your bones. It's as if every part of you now carries a tiny echo, a residue, like soot from a fire you don't remember lighting. You leave the house, because it feels worse inside now, heavier, and besides, something's pulling you toward the chapel, not for comfort, not for salvation, but for answers, or warnings. You're not sure which anymore. The village is different in daylight, but only just. The doors are still barred, the curtains still drawn, but now you notice things you didn't before, like the strange bundle nailed to the chapel door. It's a child's bonnet, stuffed with dried thistle and teeth, and tied with twine, made of braided hair. You don't touch it. You're not supposed to. You step around it. The door opens before you knock. Inside it's dim, but not empty. The priest is there, though priest might not be the right word. He wears no vestments, only a linen shirt, black with age, and a necklace of bones. Human? Probably not, but you've stopped assuming the best. He turns, eyes clouded like smoke trapped in glass. Did the bell answer you? He asks, not like a greeting, like a diagnosis. You nod, because lying feels dangerous. He doesn't nod back, doesn't speak. He just reaches behind the altar and pulls out an object, a wooden cradle no bigger than a cat. Inside is a bundle of ash wrapped in cloth and tied with a bell, just like yours. You ask what it is. He shrugs. Most call it a ghost, he says, but the word's wrong. It's more like a rerun, a memory that never learned how to die. You don't ask where it came from. You ask why it looks like yours. He just smiles. You've been sleeping too clean, he says. You need protection stronger than bells. You expect incense, prayer, maybe a charm to wear. Instead, he gives you a stick of chalk. White, plain, but warm, too warm, like it remembers being burned. Draw a door, he says. Only one. On your wall. Before sleep. You ask what's behind it. He just says, whatever you'd rather trap than meet. That night, back in your room, you do what he says. You draw the door, careful, even lines. And as you finish the last corner, the chalk breaks. Right in the middle. No sound. Just a soft snap. And then, a breath. From the other side of the wall. You press your ear to it. You don't want to, but curiosity is stronger than fear now. You hear nothing at first. Then, the sound of shuffling feet. Too many, like a crowd in slow motion, or a group of people walking barefoot through ash. Then, a knock, 3 times, soft, polite, followed by a whisper. Wrong side. You stumble back. You don't sleep. Not that night. Not for 3. And the chalk door never fades. On the 4th night, you try to erase it, but the wall scrapes back. And now, you have splinters in your fingers. From stone. The door isn't drawn anymore. It's built. And sometimes, it breathes. You go back to the priest. But the chapel is gone. Not destroyed. Just gone. Like it was never there. In its place, a field of nettles. And one small grave. Unmarked. Except for a single item on top. A bell. Cracked. Silent. But when you pick it up, it rings. Not for you, but for someone else. Someone who's coming now. Closer. Because you rang it. And maybe that's what it wanted. Not to ward things off, but to call them in. You don't go back to bed that night. Not because you're not tired. You are. Bone deep, sinking tired. But because sleep is no longer safe. Sleep is a threshold. And ever since you picked up that bell, someone or something has been standing on the other side, waiting for you to close your eyes. So you do what any medieval soul with a cursed bell and a haunted wall might do. You go to the graveyard. Because if something's chasing you from sleep, maybe the dead know how to hide. The path to the cemetery is lined with wax-dripped stones, each one pressed with fingerprints. You pass a woman tying bundles of rosemary to a fence post. She doesn't look up, but she whispers, "Don't speak their names tonight, not even your own." You whisper back, "Why?" But she just presses a sprig of rosemary into your hand and vanishes behind a shutter. At the graveyard gates, the air changes, thickens, like trying to breathe through old honey. And there's that smell again, not rot, but lavender and sweat, like a room where too many people have dreamed for too long. The gates are open, because they don't keep things out, only in. You step inside. No owls tonight, no wind, only the faint tick of iron nails expanding in their coffins. As the earth shifts with the humidity, and then on a crooked gravestone, you see it. Your name, carved shallow, not deeply enough to be real, but enough to exist. The date of death is blank. That's when you realize you didn't dream the door, or the bell, or the breath. Something is unmaking you, not all at once, but slowly, section by section, like you're being rewritten. In the margins of your own history, the gravedigger finds you staring at your tombstone. He looks about 90, or 12. Time's slippery here. He's chewing something, probably not tobacco. "Found your name, did you?" he asks, not unkindly. You nod. "Most people don't see it till it's too late," he says, spitting out a tooth. You ask if you're dying. He shrugs. "No more than the rest of us. But you've drawn attention." He taps your forehead with a muddy finger. Big bells wake old things. You should have stuck with prayers and piss water. He gives you a candle stub. plain, unlit, and a question. Do you want to be forgotten? You blink. It's not a riddle. He means it. Forgotten people sleep deeper. No dreams, no doors, but no stories either. You hesitate, because deep down, part of you wants the nightmare, wants to see what's behind the door, wants to know who's knocking. And more terrifying than any spirit is the idea of going back to silence, to nothing, to peace. You don't answer him. Instead, you light the candle, and in the flickering glow, the name on your gravestone is gone, but so is your shadow. It stayed behind. Maybe it liked it here. The gravedigger nods. Too late now. He points toward the far edge of the cemetery, a place where the ground dips into darkness like spilled ink. Go there. They're waiting. You ask who. He just grins. All the pieces of you that never slept right. You walk through tombs that hum softly when you pass, through statues that sweat blood only on Wednesdays, until you reach the edge. And there, in a circle of iron nails and crow feathers, you find them, your dreams, not metaphors, not memories, real standing, breathing things. One has your face, one has your laugh, one is still crying. They surround you. They've been waiting for a long time. And now, finally, you're ready to reclaim them, or be claimed by them. Above, the bell rings again. Once, twice. The third chime isn't from above. It's from inside you. You open your mouth to scream, but only ashes come out. You wake up in your bed, not in the graveyard, not among dreams with your face, but in your own room. Straw mattress, creaking beams, the usual midnight chill. Except you're not alone, and not in the haunted, shadowy, creature of the night way. You're not alone the way a house full of sleepers isn't alone. The warmth of breath, the creak of someone shifting under a blanket, the faint pressure of presence, like someone is lying beside you, just barely not touching. The bell is gone. In its place, a ribbon, silk, pale blue, tied gently around your wrist. Smells like milk and ash. You try to untie it, but it tightens with your fingers. A warning, or a promise. You remember the gravedigger and his question. Do you want to be forgotten? Maybe you answered in a dream. Maybe dreams answer you. Because from this moment forward, things begin to slip. Names, faces, dates. You wake up knowing you prayed last night, but not to whom. You find a child's drawing under your pillow. You don't have children. The door to the house is double bolted, and you don't remember doing it. But there's a key in your hand every morning, still cold. You turn to the monks, because when you no longer trust your own thoughts, you trust people who spend their lives copying them. The Abbey Library is a place of quiet ink and louder silences. The monk who greets you is very old, or very young. You're starting to mix things up. He listens patient as you explain your issue. He doesn't laugh, just says, "Memory is not meant to be yours alone. It must be anchored." You ask how, and that's when you learn about bedtime protection through memory binding. It's not a spell. It's a ritual, one you perform before sleep every single night, or else your dreams will pull loose from reality and take pieces of you with them. Step 1. Ink the day. Every monk carries a tiny scrap of parchment into bed. On it, a single sentence, just one line of what they want to remember. Not a prayer, not scripture, something human. Today the dog fell asleep in the sun. Brother Alric snored during Mass again. I saw my reflection and thought it was a stranger. You copy this. That night you ink your parchment with, "I dreamed of my grave." You slip it under your pillow, and you sleep. And you wake up, remembering it, not the dream itself, but that you had it. It feels like tying a string to your soul, so it doesn't float too far. Step 2, bind the bed. The monks show you how to knot cords under your mattress. 3 knots on each side. 1 for the body, 1 for the mind, 1 for the breath. If the knots come undone in the night, you know something's entered your space. Something without a body, mind, or breath of its own. The next morning, you find the breath knot untied. You check the door, still locked. You check your ribbon, still tied. But the key isn't cold this time. It's wet. You don't ask with what. Step 3, speak the true name. This part is harder. You must speak your own full name, first, middle, family, into your blanket before sleep. Not loudly, not in fear, but like you're whispering to someone lost in the woods, who only finds their way home if they hear your voice. This keeps your identity rooted. Without it, the monks say, you might dream of being a different you for too long and not remember how to get back. But the third night you try it, you say your name, and the blanket whispers back. Not an echo, an answer. It says, that's not what they call you here. You don't sleep that night. Morning comes. You check your parchment. It's blank. The ink has bled into the fibers, leaving only the faint outline of a sentence you no longer understand. You go back to the abbey, but the monk who helped you isn't there. They say he's been dead for decades, buried with a blue ribbon around his wrist. You hold up your hand. The ribbon is gone, so you leave the parchment. You burn the cords. You stop whispering your name, because you realize these rituals don't protect you from the night. They protect the night from you, because something has followed you back. Something new, something awake, and it's learning. Fast, you return home and find a gift on your bed. A bell, identical to the first, but this time it's wrapped in a note. It says, "Let me in." You don't sleep that night. You pretend to, curled under blankets, eyes shut, breath slow, but your ears are wide open. The bell sits beside your bed, silent, unmoving, patient, the note still clutched in your hand. Let me in. You begin to ask yourself the question you've avoided since this started. What if you already did? What if the thing in your dreams, the thing that left ribbons and keys, the thing that whispered through blankets and untied knots, isn't asking permission now? It's reminding you, because you opened something weeks ago, in your sleep. A whisper, a thought, a single slip of intention is all it takes. Morning comes. You're still awake. The bell still hasn't rung. But when you rise, something is different. The door opens before you touch it. And on the floor, a trail of wet footprints, leading away from your bed. Human, bare, but with too many toes. You follow the trail to your hearth. There, on the ashes, sits a second note. You called. I answered, but your voice is fading. Signed with a symbol, a circle with a vertical line through it, like an eye, closed. You're not sure what frightens you more, that someone or something is trying to reach you, or that you're the one who reached out first. You check your hiding place. The grave wax you brought back weeks ago, gone. The tooth from the dream monster, gone. In their place, a jar of honey, thick, dark, unlabeled. Inside it, your parchments, all the ones you'd written and hidden under your pillow. The ink hasn't run, is preserved, waiting. The monks would say honey is sacred, that it seals memory, traps spirits, sweetens curses, but that only works if the honey is pure. This honey is warm and breathing. You leave it behind. That night you sleep in the barn, far from the bed, the bell, the room. No pillow, no ribbon, just hay and silence. And for the first time in weeks, you wake up with no memory of dreams. No key, no footprints, nothing. And that's when you realize you're not afraid anymore. You're lonely. The dreams had rules. The rituals gave structure. The fear was something you could name, fight, explain. This blankness is worse. It means it's gone. The thing that watched you, listened, left gifts, bound memories. Was it trying to help or haunt? Too late to know. You return to your bed. The house is silent. The bell is still there, but it no longer feels threatening, just familiar. You lie down, and for the first time you whisper, "You can come back." Nothing happens that night, or the next, until the third. You wake up, and something is holding your hand. Not tightly, not with claws, just gently, as if you are the one in danger now. And it is standing watch. You don't look, you don't move, but you whisper, "Do you remember me?" And it squeezes your hand once, then lets go. When you light the candle, the room is empty, except for one thing, the ribbon, blue, folded neatly on your pillow. Beside it, a parchment, one line of writing, "We remember you." The house breathes differently now, not like a haunted place, no icy drafts, no doors creaking open on their own, but like a shared space, like you're not the only one setting the rhythm of the night anymore. It's not scary, just intimate, like sleeping in the same room as someone you trust. Not someone you see, but someone you know is there. That night, you put the ribbon in your hair. You don't know why. Feels right. You sit on the bed and hold the bell. Not to shake it, just to feel its weight. Then you whisper, "What are you?" No answer, but something shifts. A gust, soft as breath, against your cheek. On the floor, a third note appears. No sound, no movement. It's just there. Unfolding it, you read, not what, when. You think about that all night. Not what, when. Is it saying you already know what it is? Or that its identity isn't as important as when it touches you? Time isn't stable anymore. Dreams bleed into days. Memories move backwards. And sometimes, when you speak, it feels like someone's already heard it, long before you opened your mouth. So you try something new. You stop doing the rituals. No salted windows. No string under the bed. No bell on the pillow. Just sleep. The first night, nothing happens. The second, you wake up to a deep pressure on your chest. Not heavy, just present. You reach out in the dark and touch something soft. Hair? No. Thread. A spool, unrolling across your blanket. It winds between your fingers, over your neck, under your pillow. When you light the candle, the string is gone, but your hands smell like beeswax and rosemary. You go to the village scribe. Ask about thread in dreams. She looks at you sharply. Then, very softly, she says, "Sometimes we're stitched to our own end." You ask what that means. She only shrugs. Depends how tight the seam is. You walk home with that phrase stuck in your head. Stitched to your own end. What does that make the bell? A seam ripper? Or the needle? Back in your room, the ribbon is gone. In its place, a comb. Wooden. Old. Cracked with age. Your name is carved into the handle. But not by you. That night, you comb your hair before bed. Something in you says you must. And when you do, you feel it. Presence. Not in the room. Inside you. Not possession. More like memory. Yours but deeper. Older. Like it's always been there. Like combing your hair unlocks a version of yourself that knew the bell. Who tied the ribbons. Who whispered to spirits and asked them to guard her sleep. Not out of fear. Out of kindness. The next morning, the comb is gone. But you find something else. A map, drawn on parchment with brown ink. It shows your house, your street, the village well, and behind your home, a tree. Except, there's no tree behind your house, just grass and dirt. But the map is too detailed to ignore, so you follow it, shovel in hand. 10 minutes later, you hit wood. A box, small, lined with waxed cloth. Inside, a spool of blue thread, a bell identical to yours, and a name carved into the lid. Yours, in the exact handwriting from the dream notes. You take the thread. It's warm, pulses slightly. You loop it around your finger, and for the first time in your life, you remember something you never lived. A woman, sitting in your bed, bell in hand, comb in her lap, humming a lullaby in a language you don't speak, but understand perfectly. She whispers, "Sleep well. I'll wake you when it's safe." And then the memory fades, leaving you breathless, alone, but not afraid, never afraid again. You start humming the lullaby, not on purpose. It just slips out like breath in the cold. A tune you didn't know you knew, weaving through your lips as if your mouth remembered it before your mind did. It's slow, lulling, a bit sad. You hum it while washing your hands, brushing your hair, tidying the bed. It becomes part of your rhythm. And every time you do, something stirs. Not around you, within you. The bell still rests by your bed. You haven't rung it in days, but it feels like it's ringing on its own now, humming low and steady like a heartbeat. Night, it vibrates, not loud, more like it's warning something. Not now. She's still watching. Then the dreams start again. Not nightmares. They're too calm for that. Just layered. You're asleep in your dream. And in that dream, you get up, walk to your door, and open it. On the other side, a hallway. Not your house. Older. Stone-lined. Candle lit. At the end of the hallway, a curtain sways. You never reach it. You wake before you can. Every night. By the fourth time, you stop trying. You stand at the door and wait. One night, it opens. Not to the curtain, but to a field. And in the middle of the field, a woman, wearing your ribbon, holding your bell, sitting on a carved stool. She doesn't speak, just watches you. You take a step forward and she disappears. In her place, a pile of linen, monk robes, frayed, stained, smelling of smoke and lavender. You reach down and there's a name stitched into the collar. Not yours, but you know it. Back in the waking world, you find the same name, scratched lightly into the inside of your window frame. You run your finger over it. The wood is worn smooth there, like it's been touched hundreds of times. Maybe by you, maybe not. You decide to ask the priest, not the current one, the old one, the one who left after that strange Easter 10 years ago. He still lives on the hill by the ruined chapel. When you mention the dream hallway, his eyes flicker. Curtains, you said? You nod. He leans forward. That's not a dream, he says. It's a ritual, an unfinished one. He tells you about a sect long forgotten. Monks who believed sleep was the true prayer. That what you did in your dreams mattered more than what you did awake. They used thread, bells, and names as anchors to keep their soul from wandering too far, too long, because some never came back. You've been called, the priest says gently, but the question is, do you want to answer? You ask what happens if you don't. He looks at the sky. Well, someone else will. That night, the hallway returns, but the curtain is open. Beyond it, a mirror, not glass, polished copper, dark and smoky. You see your face, but older, tired, smiling, and she mouths, "Tie the thread." You wake up gasping. The thread is coiled around your hand. In the morning, you find a small tin tucked behind your pillow. Inside, a sewing needle, bent, blackened, but still sharp. You don't remember putting it there, but you remember using it. In a life that wasn't this one. You hold it in your palm and feel it hum. A note only the bell would understand. The bell hasn't rung in days, but the silence feels louder. Your house has changed subtly but undeniably. Shadows linger longer. The wood in the beams exhales when no one moves, and the air holds that peculiar weight you now recognize. Someone's watching, but kindly. Maybe. You keep the thread near your skin now, wrapped around your wrist beneath your sleeve, or tucked inside your sock like a secret talisman. The moment you forget it, you feel like a part of you went to sleep and didn't wake up. The needle is with it too, sharp enough to sting your dreams. One night, the copper mirror appears again, but this time it's behind your real door, not a dream. You blink, and it's still there, resting against the wall, heavy and warm like a living thing. You step closer, and again, your reflection but flickering. You and not you. The second you blinks half a beat late, then raises her hand when you don't. A thin ribbon of red dangles from her finger. You reach out and feel it, not cold, not hot, but known, like the hem of a dress you wore 100 lifetimes ago. You tie it around your own finger without thinking. A familiar knot, muscle memory from a time before memories. The bell chimes the moment it tightens. Once, later that week, you visit the town library. Not for books, but for records. You're looking for names. Old ones. The kind that used to be whispered in bedtime prayers or scratched behind door frames. You find 3. All women. All lived in your house at one point. All died before age 30. One of them disappeared entirely. Her name? Agnes Belmare. Your last name is nothing like Belmare, but the priest smiles when you say it. Maybe not by blood, he says, but definitely by thread. You ask him how the ritual ends. He looks at the sky again, like it's some kind of clock. When the bell stops ringing, he murmurs, and your name changes. You frown. My name? Yes, you'll still be you, but not quite. You'll belong. Belong to what? He just smiles. At night, you start hearing voices behind the mirror. Not loud, not cruel, just remembering. They speak in fragments. Candle went out. Should have locked the door. The baby's name was Thomas. Don't forget the bells. You write some of it down, but the ink vanishes by morning. On the 5th night, the mirror is gone. In its place, your reflection in the window. The snowing outside, except it's July, and you're standing in your own reflection, holding a bundle wrapped in linen. You don't remember ever being that gentle, but it looks right. The linen is marked with red thread. A small tag hangs from it. One word, return. You wake to find the same tag in your hand. The bell doesn't ring. Instead, it vibrates, low, constant, like it's waiting. You look at the door, your real one, and something about the way it leans, the light against its hinges, the scuff marks on the floor, you know it leads to that hallway now. Not metaphorically, not in dreams, but really. And tonight you could go. You have the thread, you have the needle, the bell, the name. The only thing missing is the ritual. You don't remember falling asleep, but you wake up standing, barefoot, in the hallway. Not your hallway. This one's longer, older. It smells like rainwater soaked into parchment. The walls breathe gently in and out. And the bell? It's in your mouth. You're humming it like a lullaby. On the wall beside you, a line of linen hoods. Plain, heavy, hand-stitched. each one with red thread embroidery. You lift the first. Inside the hood, etched faintly in wax, protect the left ear. You smile nervously. Of course, that's where they whisper first. You choose one and slip it on. It's heavier than it looks, but strangely comforting, like being watched but benevolently. The first door opens for you. Inside, a candlelit room, a shallow basin of water at its center. 3 women kneel around it. One is very old. One looks familiar. The third, you realize, is the woman from the mirror. They don't look at you. They chant softly in a tongue you don't recognize. But your blood does. It moves faster. The air thickens. You're invited to kneel. You dip your fingers into the basin. It's warmer than your skin. The oldest woman opens her eyes, milky but sharp. "Do you bring the thread?" she asks. You nod and hold it out. They don't touch it. Instead, they exhale. Your thread begins to float, twisting and tightening midair, knotting itself into a symbol, a charm, a seal. The woman smiles. You're ready, but for what, she doesn't say. Outside the door, the hallway has changed again. It slopes now, like you're descending into an old cathedral buried beneath centuries. Your ears pop. The bell in your throat pulses. You pass another door, closed and locked tight. You hear scraping from the other side, something trying to scratch its way out. You don't stop. The linen hood whispers, "Don't speak to the locked ones." At the base of the slope, a ritual chamber. Stone floor, red chalk symbols, 7 candles, each flame pointed away from the center. In the middle, a chair, not sinister, just expectant. You sit. The moment your weight settles, your name, your real, full name, echoes in 7 different voices. Some male, some female, one definitely not human. They pronounce your name in a way you've never heard before, as if it meant something ancient, something you haven't earned. Yet, a voice, without mouth or speaker, says, 3 dreams, then return. The first dream, you are a child in a medieval village, kneeling on a dirt floor, tying bells into your mother's cloak. She tells you, don't listen if they call your name from the dark. You ask why. She doesn't answer. Instead, she unties a bell and swallows it. You wake coughing. The second dream, you are a nun in a stone cell. Your cellmate is dead, but still breathing. Each breath sounds like your own. You ring the bell over her body. She sighs and says, it was never about keeping them out. It was about keeping you in. You wake with the sound of Gregorian chanting in your ears, but it's coming from inside your pillow. The third dream, you are yourself, in your own bed, and the mirror is above you, not hanging, hovering. You look into it. You see the 3 women. They nod in unison. They speak together. You belong. Your reflection doesn't mimic you this time. It just smiles, then steps back, and you feel the thread snap loose. You wake, not in the chair, but in your own bed. Hood gone, thread still around your wrist, mirror gone, but the air is quiet, as if it had just finished exhaling after holding a breath for years. You reach for the bell and realize it's now inside the red thread, woven in like a tiny seed, waiting. Whatever it was protecting you from, it's not trying to get in anymore. It's already inside, but you're not afraid, because now you understand the ritual, and more importantly, you know how to perform it. The next night, you feel it before you see it. Not fear, not even anticipation, but a strange alignment, as if your thoughts have clicked into place, with something outside of you, something ancient, patient, and very, very close. You light the candle with the same match as always. But tonight, the flame turns blue before settling into its warm yellow. You don't flinch. You place the red thread under your pillow, like the woman in the dream did. And the bell? You don't even need to touch it. It hums gently on its own, tuned to your heartbeat. Then the mirror blinks. Not a flicker, a blink, as if it had an eyelid, as if you are the reflection now, being watched from the other side. You don't turn away. You ask the question just loud enough. Who's watching? The mirror fogs up with breath, and a single word appears drawn in the condensation. We. You smile, because you understand the grammar now. We means you're not alone anymore. It also means responsibility. Ritual is a contract, and tonight, it's your turn to hold the other end. You get up and open the wardrobe. Inside, not clothes, but objects wrapped in cloth, each one labeled in runes that only make sense while you're dreaming. You unwrap the first, a small cross carved from bone, worn at the edges. The second, a strip of bark, still sticky with sap. It smells like the forest you saw in the basin's reflection. The third, a key, simple, iron. But when you close your fingers around it, you feel a heartbeat, not yours. You gather them into a pouch. Tonight, you are not the sleeper. You are the warden of the sleep. The bell chimes once as you leave the room. The hallway is darker than before, but your steps echo clearly. You find the doors again, some open, some locked. You only knock once. If they don't answer, they've made their choice. But when they do, you step inside. You place the bark under their pillow, the bone cross above the door. You don't speak. The ritual doesn't require sound, only presence. One room is different. No one sleeps inside, but something breathes there, shallow, fast. You enter carefully. It's not a person. It's a memory wrapped in a blanket, a child's blanket, unmoving but warm. You sit beside it, place the iron key at its center. You wait, the memory sighs. You whisper, "I'll return tomorrow," and you will, because now this is what you do. You're the one who threads the bell, who marks the doors, who keeps the spirits moving forward, not circling back. You don't sleep through the night anymore, but you rest. And others, they sleep a little deeper now, not knowing why the whispers skip over them, why the shadows hesitate at their windows, why their mirrors stay quiet. They don't know you were there, but the red thread around their wrist is tied in your knot, and the bell on their bedpost, that was your doing, just in case, because sometimes, even in the deepest sleep, they call your name, and now you answer. The door to your room groans as it closes, not with age, but with reluctance. It doesn't want you to leave again. You whisper to it, like calming a restless animal, just for a moment. The latch clicks, soft, respectful, and once more you step out. Tonight, your steps aren't random. You walk with purpose, each turn, each corridor chosen, like your feet remember an old map you never studied. Down 3 stone steps, past the room with the silent cradle, under the arch where the spider has never moved. You arrive, a chamber no larger than a pantry.
Bara except for.
A chair, a basin of water, and a bell without a clapper. This is the listening room. No one talks here. Not you, not them. Only echoes speak, and only when invited. You sit. The basin still holds ripples from the last watcher. Maybe that was you. Maybe it wasn't. Time doesn't behave in this room. You breathe once, slow, and wait. Minutes pass. Then, the bell vibrates. No sound, just motion. a low, quivering tension in the air, like something in the walls just woke up. The basin's water swirls, but it's not your reflection anymore. It's a face, old, male, eyes closed, mouth gently parted, like whispering in sleep. You lean in, and you hear it. Not all bells are heard. You blink. The water stills. You're alone again, but the silence is heavier now, like it's sitting beside you. So you speak, not loudly, just enough to push the silence off balance. Tell me what I need to know. The bell shakes again, but this time it rings, not a chime, a note, low, warm, and impossibly deep. You feel it in your ribs, your teeth, your dreams, and the water answers. A vision, a village square, bonfire at the center, dozens gathered, but no celebration. They are tying bells to someone's feet, someone limp, someone no longer breathing. They aren't mourning, they're warding, because the dead sometimes walk back to the places they feared most. And the bells? They don't stop them. They just warn you first. You return to your breath. The basin clears. The bell rests, and the room feels colder. You stand. Not quickly. There's no rush. Not when you know the road ahead now leads through that memory. Because the bells you've trusted, they may be doing more than warning. They may be inviting. You walk back to your room, every step measured. The red thread under your pillow feels heavier now. The iron key pulses faster. But you're not afraid. Not exactly. You just understand the deal better. Protection has a cost. And the bells never promise safety. Only awareness. Now you know what that really means. And still, you lie down. Still, you close your eyes. Still, you keep the bell beside your head. Because hearing is better than blindness. Even when you're dreaming. Especially when you're not alone in those dreams. There's a knock, not a sound. Pressure, like someone tapping the air just outside your dreams. You don't sit up. Not yet. You wait to see if it comes again. It does. 3 times. Even. Patient. Like it has all night. You open your eyes. The room hasn't changed. The candle is still breathing quietly in its dish. The red string still ties your pillow to the bedpost. The bell beside you is still, but something is different. You know something is waiting, and it doesn't need a door to be invited. Your feet touch the floor, cold, damp, as if someone spilled water without a sound. You reach under the bed, not for shoes, but for the bone charm, carved from deer antler, inscribed with spirals. It smells faintly of lavender and old sweat. You were told never to hold it too tightly, so you don't. Tonight you're walking again, but not through halls, not through cellars. You're walking through your own room, because tonight it's larger. Somehow, the walls lean back, the shadows stretch deeper. There's a window now. You don't remember opening it, but it's there. Outside, a field. Not grass, gravel. Tiny stones, black and glinting in the moonlight. Each one has a bell beneath it. Thousands. You step onto the sill. The breeze tastes of sage and copper. A whisper. Take only 10 steps. You step out. Each step, a bell rings beneath you. But you don't hear it. You feel it. Toe bones tighten. Jaw clenches. Nostrils flare. You count. 6, 7. A voice. Why only 10? You freeze. You look behind you. No room. No window. Only gravel stretching endlessly. The bells hum. Softly. Like a warning. You whisper. Because that's what she said. The bells go still. Then movement. Ahead. Figure. Cloaked. Kneeling. Head bowed. Hands clasped around a sleeping mask. You approach. She doesn't move. You kneel. Now you see, she's not alive, not dead either. Something paused. You touch the mask. Her eyes snap open, but it's your face staring back. And you says, "It's your turn to watch." The field disappears. You're back in bed, breath caught, fingers tingling, and the sleeping mask? It's in your hands now, still warm, still humming. You don't remember putting it on, but you do. The world goes dark, but not silent. There's movement, there's breathing, and distant bells, soft, slow, waiting, because sleep is no longer rest. It's responsibility. And tonight, you're the watcher. You wake up, but not the usual kind. Not the stretch and yawn, birdsong through the window kind. No, this is the wake up where your heart's already racing, and your ears are trying to pick up a sound that may not even exist. There's no sun yet, just a heavy grayness pressing against the shutters. You don't remember falling asleep. You do remember bells. They're gone now, replaced by something else. Not noise, pressure. The kind of pressure that makes you feel like someone's looking at you from behind a wall. You sit up slowly, the charms still around your wrist, the red strings frayed but holding. You feel a tug on your sleeve. You freeze, but it's just the corner of your blanket caught under your arm. You exhale, not a sigh, more like a warning to the air. Don't even try it tonight. You rise and reach for your morning task, the cleansing bowl. It's filled with bitter water, steeped overnight with rosemary, salt, and 2 tears you placed in it last evening. One for memory, one for forgetting. You splash it across your face. Your skin tingles, but in a good way, like you've just rubbed truth into your pores. The reflection in the bowl shimmers. You don't look at it long. In this house, mirrors remember. The bells on the bed frame are quiet, not still quiet, like they're listening. You check under the bed. Just a box, but it's not yours. It's old, scorched at the corners, wrapped in black linen and sealed with a wax stamp in the shape of a finger bone. You didn't put it there, but now it's yours. That's how these things work. You take it downstairs. The house creaks differently today. Faster, nervous. The floor groans under your steps like it's trying to warn the walls. They're coming. In the kitchen, someone has drawn circles in the ash by the hearth. 6 circles, each with a pebble in the center. Except one. This pebble is gone, and you know exactly where it is. You reach into your pocket. Cold, smooth, the missing one. You didn't pick it up, but it's there. You place it back in the circle. The air warms by 3 degrees. You don't know how, but your body does. Later, you're outside. The sun is almost up. Birds aren't singing, but a single bell rings out in the distance. It's not yours. It's from the Abbey. And that means one thing. Someone died last night. You don't ask who. As long as it wasn't your bell, you don't need to know. You return inside. Place the black box on the mantel. Light a single candle beside it. The rules are clear. Never open it. Never touch it after sunset. And never let its shadow touch yours. You sprinkle salt around it. Twice clockwise. Once counter. You whisper the blessing, even though you don't believe in it. Belief is a luxury. Habit is survival. As the candle crackles, the room settles. The pressure lifts. The watching stops. But before you exhale, a single high-pitched bell rings, right beside your ear. Not loud, just certain. And it whispers, "It's your turn again tonight." You don't reply. You just nod. Because in this house, with these bells, you don't sleep to rest. You sleep to hold the line. And tonight, the line is thinner than ever. You stay still longer than you should. The bell has gone quiet again. but something about its tone still lingers in the fibers of your robe, in the cracks between your toes. You don't want to move, not because you're afraid, because movement confirms it happened. You warm your hands by the candle's glow. The flame dances a bit too high, like it's reaching for something above. You gently lower the wick, whispering an old rhyme about flames that stand too tall, burning bridges with the dead. You sit, not in your usual chair, no. That one creaked at the wrong time 3 nights ago. Now you sit on the low stool by the window. The view shows the distant monastery, still cloaked in fog. A line of pilgrims snakes down the road, tiny specks with hunched backs and sleepless faces. One carries a bundle. You know it's not bread. There's a little pouch on the sill. You open it. Dried clover, sage, and a single white feather. Not just any feather. It's from a bird that wasn't supposed to fly at night. You press it to your lips. Not to kiss it, no. To hush it. Because even some objects have memories, and this one tends to mutter. Your hands ache today, not from age, from holding too much protection. You've worn too many rings with meanings, too many copper bands meant to trap nightmares in the joints. You pull one off, the smallest, and for just a moment you feel light. It's nearly time to reset the threshold. You rise, open the side door, not the front. The front hasn't been used since the knocking started last spring. You gather pine needles, thorn sprigs, and a fistful of crushed rose hips. You walk the path backward, barefoot, leaving no breath behind. Only the sound of the wind trying to remember your name. At the doorstep, you murmur the same 5 syllables your grandmother taught you. They don't translate. That's the point. Inside again. You place one bell upside down beside the hearth. That means, do not disturb. You hang another above the pantry. That one means the food's been seen. There's a little straw figure tucked into a jar near the window. It has no eyes. You made sure of that, because anything that watches too long learns too much. You check your bed. The salt line's intact. The silver pin still holds the pillow's corner. The stone under your mattress hums, just faintly, like a heartbeat far beneath the ground. You're not superstitious. You're just experienced. Your breath fogs the mirror slightly. You write the date in the condensation with your finger, then erase it with your palm. You always do, because you don't want to remember which day the repeating started. You light a second candle, a lower one. That's for the hallway. Its light must not touch the ceiling beams. That's where the soft scurrying comes from. Not mice. You stopped pretending years ago. You just never gave it a name. Names are permission. One last thing before sleep. The bell above the doorframe. You reach up and spin it 3 times. Not to ring it, just to confuse it. So that if anything comes knocking again, the bell won't know whether to wake you. You hope. You crawl into bed, careful not to jostle the charm bundle beneath your left hip. You pull the blanket just to your chin, not higher. The breathing charm around your neck likes airflow. You whisper your last word of the day. Not to yourself, not to the room, but to the dark. Wait, and it does. Tomorrow you'll wake again. Reinforce the line. Check the bells. Watch the hallway beams. But tonight, you rest in rhythm with a world stitched together by rituals, superstitions, and the quiet trust between you and the unseen things that listen just beyond the threshold. Sleep isn't freedom here. It's a contract, and you're a loyal signer. You dream in bells now. Not the big bronze ones that ring at prime or vespers. No, those are too loud, too clean. These bells are small, soft-throated, with a voice like breath through bone. They don't ring so much as they warn. Your eyes open slowly. Not from sound, not exactly. More like a tug behind your left ear, a knowing. The way you just know when someone stares at you from a window, but you haven't looked yet. The candle burned down during the night. Wax cooled in a ripple across your desk. The puddle looks like a handprint. You don't touch it. You sit up. The stone under your mattress is silent now. No hum, just the weight of it. You count your fingers. All 5, on each hand. Still yours. Good. You leave the room slowly, one heel at a time. The hallway is colder than it should be. The second candle went out, even though you trimmed the wick. You glance up. No shadows between the beams. That's a good sign. Or maybe just a lazy one. Either way, you nod politely to the air before you walk through. You find her in the kitchen. Not the woman, she's long gone. But her imprint. In the flower bowl, someone's drawn a circle with a line through it. Witch's mark? No, just her old habit. She used to do that to keep mice away. You do it again with your own finger. Tradition matters even when the reason's gone dusty. You open the small cabinet above the hearth. The one no one is supposed to touch. Inside, a sprig of you, a lock of red hair not yours, a broken thimble, and a bell wrapped in black cloth. You remove the cloth carefully, not to ring it, to listen. Sometimes it rings backwards. Today is shriving day. You didn't plan it that way, but the crows outside gathered in 3 precise circles. You saw it from the upstairs window. That means today you confess, but not to a priest, to the house. You kneel at the base of the stairwell. Press your palms against the lowest step. You say nothing for the first 10 seconds. Just breathe. Then, one by one, you name the things you've seen but never acknowledged. The footprint that faced the wrong way. The mirror that fogged while no one was in the room. The hour you lost last week between dusk and full dark. The humming that knew your name. You whisper, I released these, but you don't mean it. You store them, in case you need proof later. You rise. The air feels lighter. The step doesn't groan when you walk back up. Small things mean something here. You pass the door at the end of the hall. The one with no keyhole. You rest your forehead against it. Just once. You don't knock. That would be rude. Back in your room, you rearrange the bell above your pillow. The clapper is coated in ash, not soot. From where? You don't ask, but you wipe it clean because a dirty bell gives dirty dreams. You've learned that the hard way. Evening again. Time blurs here. You light the mirror candle, the one you only burn when you want the reflection to lie. You look into the glass. It smiles before you do. You nod politely. Sometimes you need the mirror to lie for your sake. It's part of the deal. You don't change your clothes before sleep. You keep the same wool tunic on, the one with the hidden bell sewn into the hem. You lie on your side, pillow slightly askew, so the charm bundle doesn't dig into your ribs. You breathe. You listen. The quiet has a shape tonight. Long, narrow. Watching. You don't mind. It's always better to know it's there than to wonder. And as you drift, slowly, carefully, you realize you are no longer just surviving the night. You're negotiating with it. With every bell, every whisper, every flickering flame. You're holding court in a kingdom of ghosts, memories, and gentle protections that only work because you believe they do. Sleep comes like a guest who's finally learned to knock, and you let it in. You dream again, but this one's structured, not a chaos of colors or running feet. This dream has rules. You're in a stone hallway, narrow, dark, except for sconces that flicker at a pace not aligned with the wind. Each torch dims when you pass. Each flame bows away from you. Respect or fear. You can't tell. Maybe both. At the far end, a wooden door with 4 bells nailed into its frame. They don't ring when you touch the handle. They ring when you hesitate, so you open it without pause. Inside is a room you've never seen, but already recognize, because this is where dreams go when they've been forgotten. Everything smells like lavender that's been dead too long. Soft, sour. There's a child's bed in the corner, impossibly small. A feather pillow with a bite taken out of it. A curtain that moves without air. And on the wall, a drawing done in soot. Stick figures. One tall, one very small. The tall one is missing its head. The small one has 6 arms. You don't feel fear. You feel accountable. Something shifts behind you. You don't turn. Turning is a mistake here. Instead, you speak aloud. I remember what we lost. The room stills. The bells outside the door fall silent. One single word is carved fresh into the stone floor at your feet. Almost. You wake with your mouth open. You weren't screaming. You were reciting something old. Not Latin. Not prayer. Just sounds your body knew before your mind could name them. Your throat aches. The still night. You know because the bell above your bed has not rung. But it trembles. Not from wind. There is no wind. Just tension. As if something passed close but chose to keep going. You thank it silently. That's all it wants. Respect. You rise. Your feet are cold. The stone beneath you feels damp, though it hasn't rained in days. You walk to the window. There's something carved into the frost on the glass. You were heard. No handprint, no signature, but a lock of your hair is missing. You nod. Fair trade. Downstairs, the hearth is still warm. That shouldn't be possible. No fire was lit before sleep, but the ashes glow a soft orange. You lean closer. In the center of the coals, a coin, old, silver, bent in the middle like it's been bitten. You don't touch it. You cover it with salt. You go back upstairs. There's a rhythm to surviving night after night in a place like this. You don't challenge. You witness. You participate with care. You earn your peace. It's never given. You glance once more at the bell. Still trembling. You say aloud, "Not tonight." And this time, stills. Tomorrow, maybe you'll find out what that dream meant. Or maybe not. Maybe you already know. Maybe that wasn't a warning. Maybe it was a reminder that you live between night and morning, between belief and memory, between the ringing of bells and the silence that follows. You don't fall asleep again. You descend into sleep, like climbing down into a well whose bottom you've touched before, but never seen. This time, you're not alone. You hear footsteps, not the heavy bootsteps of guards or the soft tread of a monk. No, these are bare feet, tiny, wet, padding along the stone like they've been walking for hours or centuries. They circle your bed, and then stop. A whisper, just inches from your ear. It's your turn to keep watch. You sit up slowly. No one's there, but the candle beside your bed is lit. You didn't do that, and the flame is blue. You've read enough to know blue flames are signs of magic, of spirits, of bound promises, and yet the room feels calmer. You swing your legs over the bed and place your feet on the cold stone. The floor is dry now. You tiptoe to the hallway. Something is different. The bells. Every bell you hung last week, above windows, door frames, even your bedpost, they're all gone, replaced with blackened brass ones. Old, worn, and definitely not yours. They don't chime. They hum, low, resonant, like the earth is singing beneath your feet. You follow the sound. Downstairs, past the hearth now cold again. The silver coin in the ashes, gone, replaced with a handful of poppy seeds. You know the legends. poppies for forgetting, poppies to keep the dead asleep, or to feed them. You sweep them into a pouch and tie it shut, just in case. The hum leads you outside. The village is silent, but not empty. You see figures, people from your life, alive and dead, all standing still, eyes closed, each one with a bell tied around their wrist. Not ringing, just waiting. You don't speak to them. You know the rules by now. You simply walk among them, and as you pass, each bell gives a single perfect chime. A rhythm begins. Ding, 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 like a heartbeat, like a warning. At the center of the village square, there's a circle of salt. Inside it, nothing, but you feel its pull. You sit at the edge, legs crossed, and whisper, "I'm ready." And from within the salt, a wind rises. Warm, damp. It smells like moss and grave earth. It tastes like the space between names in a prayer. Then a voice, not human, not monstrous, just a vast. "Do you remember what was asked?" You nod. Another whisper, "Do you consent?" You whisper back, "I do." The bells on every wrist in the village chime again. Together once, then stop. The salt glows. The voice continues. Then you are no longer a guest. You are the watcher. Your mouth opens, not to speak, but to sing. A sound you didn't know you could make. Low, layered, like 20 voices braided into one. You are declaring something, not a command, not a plea, a vow. You don't remember the words, but you understand them. And when the last note fades, every bell chimes again. The villagers open their eyes, not surprised, not afraid. They simply nod at you. One by one, they begin to walk away, toward their homes, toward sleep, and you remain in the circle, alone, but never again unguarded. The hum becomes silence. The night becomes bearable. You lie down in the center of the salt and stare at the stars, which now blink in patterns. You think, "I've joined something ancient." You smile, and sleep finally welcomes you, not as prey, but as its keeper. You dream without falling. You drift, not through memories but duties. There's no fear, no dread, only the steady rhythm of what must be done. A candle flickers in your chest. A bell rings beneath your ribs. You are the watcher now. The next morning you wake before the sun, and everything has changed. The air in the room is thinner, clearer. The shadows are gentle. The bed frame is warm where you rest your hand. And at the base of your bed, a gift, wrapped in linen, sealed with wax, and marked with a sign you now recognize, the oath of sleep. Inside, a string of brass bells, just like the ones you saw in the village square. A small, polished bone charm with 3 notches carved deep, and a folded slip of parchment with just one line, "For the nights yet to come." You rise, dress slowly. Your tunic fits looser. Your belt is softer. Even your footsteps feel quieter. You understand now. Sleep isn't something you take. It's something you are granted. You walk outside. The village is just beginning to stir. Someone stokes a fire. Someone else hauls water. A child ties a red string around her wrist and looks at you knowingly. They all know. They saw you last night. They heard the bells. An old woman walks up to you, hands you a piece of bread still warm. She doesn't speak, but she does nod. The kind of nod that says, "You did what no one else could. We're safer now. Thank you." And you smile, because you remember, too, that night you hang the bells, one by the hearth, one over the window, one on the bedpost. You place the bone charm under your pillow, and as the candle burns low, you welcome the dark, but just before your eyes close, you hear one last whisper, not from a spirit, but from the sleep itself. Rest now. You're not alone anymore. You sleep, and this time, no bells ring.